Number 8, Biggie. Now, I also think this is too low. And last year,
too high.
You think it's too high? Okay.
I think Biggie makes good songs.
See, this is the thing, man. When I was last year in 2022, I had to do 2 profile pieces. I did a profile piece on Biggie at 50. What the angle was, what his life might be like had he not passed away so young. And then I had to do another one on Puff Daddy's.
Biggie would have been
first
CrossFit.
He definitely would have had a juice shop. I know he would have had a juice shop.
Yeah.
Biggie definitely would have had a juice shop. But like, you know, going back and listening to like, Big is another one of those guys. He was funny. He could, whether he was just doing, you know, showing skills on the track, cipher rhymes, or if he was telling a story, the way he flipped stuff was so crazy. And he had every single style, like every style there was as an MC. And so I feel like he should be higher because of that. I definitely feel like he should be higher than Nas. I mean, no disrespect, obviously, but he definitely should be higher than Nas to me.
Well, now that I think about I'm gonna make arguments for and against myself because that's how I do. That's how I like when he did the shit where he was rapping with the 2 different voices at the same time.
Come on, man.
Was it Give Me the Loot? Was that
the loot, man? Give me the loot.
Yeah, it was like Give Me the Loot. I thought that was 2 rappers for the longest. I was like, wait, that was him both? So there was, Big's the shit. Don't get me wrong.
My man said, I don't give a fuck if you're pregnant. Give me the pinky ring and the #1 mom pendant. Like, and then he comes right back and says, I'm slamming niggas like Shaquille. Shit, I mean, it's hilarious. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's so visual.
Or another one off the album is I don't want to live no more. I don't want to live no more. Like just the everyday struggle shit. Like look, man, I fuck with Biggie, I really do. But body of work, pedestal them. I think some of the people. You know what? I don't know. You can make the argument like, all right, man, someone dropped 2 awesome books and someone else is a prolific writer. Who's the better writer? I don't fucking, you can make an argument for both.
That's why I like lyricist conversations, right? Because lyricist conversations to me are separate than who has the best catalog, who sold the most records. Like, it's different to me than, mass appeal type, conversations or structures. One of the reasons why I appreciate this list, they got Lupe and Doom in their top 5, right? I mean,
that's what I don't like about it.
Like, look at who we talked about so far. Lupe and Doom. Well, Doom's the only one without a platinum record, but Lupe barely makes it. In comparison to everyone else has been like a titan of their time. I mean,
number 9 is Pharoah Monch. That's another one that's kind of more underground.
Well, we had that conversation. When we had the conversation, remove one. Black Thought, Pharoah Monch, Ghostface Killer, or Mos Def, right?
I removed Mos Def on that combo. I don't. This is another dude. Like I like the Pharoah Monch. He did that Stray Bullet where he's rapping like he's a bullet on the Organized Confusion.
Very influential track. Extremely influential.
Extinction Agenda. Yeah, I feel like Nas ended up doing that too.
And Tupac. Tupac did it too.
Oh,
me and my bitch.
Where's the gun? Oh yeah, just me. Or me and my girlfriend. Biggie's me and my bitch.
Biggie's me and my bitch. Me and my girlfriend.
Me and my bitch. Just me and my bitch. Yeah.
So, Pharoah gets lost because his label got bought and nobody was coming out in the 2000s. So most people have like a decade where they never really got to hear him. But incredible. Jay-Z's
number 10.
Jay-Z's number 10. To me, that actually kind of feels right to me in a weird way. I'm not sure if this would be the same list of people I might have in front of him, but
Jay-Z's one of those dudes for me where it's like, man, I just loved his earlier shit. And it's not like his skills went away. I really couldn't just relate to a lot of his later stuff. So that's somebody, if he had a more limited catalog, I probably would think higher of him. You dig?
That's what's funny too, because I always think about that meme that went around talking about how Jay-Z was never the best rapper of any year since he's been out. And I feel like this list kind of reflects that. Like if you track every year since Jay-Z came out in what, 96, 90, what is it, 96, I think, 95, whatever he came out.
Yeah.
I think it was 96. And then like you look at every rapper that was out that year throughout his entire career, you know, there's a viral video that makes the argument that Jay-Z was never actually the best rapper in any of those years. And so to me, that's, you know, makes sense that he's at number 10 on the lyricist scale. It kind of matches up with other aspects of popular opinion.
Number 11 is Mos Def. I think he's overrated too. I feel like a lot of these guys they pick, they're like the thinking man's rappers. But unfortunately, the thinking man doesn't listen to all the rap. So how can they even compare?
Well, this isn't greatest rapper of all time, right? It's greatest lyricist. So it may
well, I mean, he's a thinking man lyricist, whatever you want to call it. All these guys are like, you know, these are what the nerds listen to.
Yeah, well, it's the lyricist list. You know, it's people who like words and what people are doing with words.
Yeah, but that infers that like Project Pat isn't an ill-ass lyricist.
I don't think Project Pat's a top 10 lyricist of all time. But what I do think
I don't think half of these dudes are though. And I would rather listen to him over than a gang of these cats. And he says shit that I fucking feel more than a lot of these dudes. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but you could do this list the other way and other people would feel the same way. Right. So like, you know, like I wouldn't have Project Pat in my top 10. Would you have Project Pat in your top 10? Lyricists of all time?
I'd have him over half of these dudes.
Oh, would he be in your top 10?
I don't know. I haven't made a top 10. I'm just criticizing this guy's top 10. That's my job. I don't make things. I just criticize things. Let's take calls. 888-742-3345. Here, let me run through a couple more of these. All right, so I got 12's Lil Wayne. Good. G-Rap's 13. I think he definitely deserves to be there. He influenced so many people. And Face 14, you know, he'd have been on my he's top 5 for me. I love Face's lyrics, man.
Emotional depth.
He hits me in my heart. Face will punch me in my fucking heart. Love that shit. And he can spit for everybody. He's kind of like, you got to give, as far as versatility is for the listener too, you know, not just styles. He's able to get me to feel some shit, and he can get a little bit of anybody to feel some shit. Black Thought's getting his love. Ghostface, I love Ghost. Karis One, number 17. He really he was way ahead of Chuck D. Chuck D is way further down. Karis One was another. I liked him when I was young, and then when I got older and kind of like looked up the things that he was telling me, he you know, officer, like, no, that it didn't come from that. Like he doesn't know where officer comes from. I went and looked it up. I was curious about the etymology. So like some of that shit where I think he's really smart, he just wasn't on. It wasn't right.
You know, he got his point across.
Yeah, but it's not, you know, but he's the teacher. He's spitting like he's telling me some crazy truths, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So then I go look it up. I'm like, no, actually all you had to do was Google that or look it up, and he was wrong. Hey, Tupac got some love. I bet you he didn't even like Pac. He just threw him up. He had to put him on the top 20, or else people was gonna give him death threats.
I think when you think about lyricism, this is my critique for this list. I don't think this list does a great job of defining what he means. But I don't think about Tupac as a great lyricist. I think he's perfect at everything else. But
yeah, you think so?
I mean, whenever I think about Pac, like Pac is way more direct than everybody else on here except for Scarface and Cool G Rap. You know, in my opinion.
I often I always point to the same lyric, but I think I think Pac's able to be very poignant. And
100%.
And so like if you're trying to get an idea across or a feeling across, I feel like I think Pac does that in fucking spades, bro. He's very good at making me feel a certain way.
This ain't a referendum on Pac by any means.
No.
When I think about lyricism, I think of wordplay and all the things that you can do with words. Like Pac is low on similes and metaphors, for example. You know, he's very direct. And I include that when I think about lyricists. You know, so to me, this feels about right, I guess.
So for your lyricists, you value like you like more the wordplay, the tricks and shit like that. And for me, I just want like, what does it make me? What is he trying to tell? Is he able to tell me something? Is he able to make me feel something? So, and it's like, so that's up for debate. What do you want out of your lyricist? So you're right. I'm looking for something different than you are. So you
100%, and I, yeah, 100%.
You things differently.
Right. It's like it's half is what you say and half's the style. And that's when I think about MCing overall. That's where I think about lyricism. Right. Okay. What did you say, but also how'd you say it? Right?
Yeah, but then
if this was a list of just what was said or how impactful something would be, Pac is like number 1, number 2, number 3 on everybody list, right?
Yeah, but like it's like what it doesn't matter what you say if it doesn't make you feel something.
Well, it makes me feel that one, I feel imagination heavy. It makes me think different,
okay.
Right? Like
right.
Like take Nas's Rewind. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling different now. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh shoot, now I got to think about the thing in the beginning in the first place. Now I'm back to the end. So I don't. The closest thing I have to something like that with Pac is Me and My Girlfriend, which is a Fairmont concept that Nas used the same year as Pac did, right? So not to take away from it, I don't feel like that's where he lived.
Right. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, but that's that's not my number one thing when I'm looking for a lyricist.
Right.
Yeah, I like it, but to me that's almost like a gimmick. If it like that's cool, but I mean, shit. If you want to do like where Spice One, he was the one. He turned liquor into fucking killers, shit right, like that.
But if you compare everybody else that we've talked about so far, right? Like Andre 3000 does that in spades, right?
What does he do?
He makes you feel, and he approaches stuff in wildly interesting ways.
That's right? That's why I didn't have a problem. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, with it.
So, in my opinion, everybody we've talked about so far, with the exception to me of Cool G Rap and Scarface, because I feel like Cool G Rap, Scarface are very much like Pac. Right, all
right. So it's funny. So like I'm more. That's what I'm looking for in my rappers, like that type of shit.
Right.
And you like cleverness and wordplay, which is that's a wild shit. It's just
I like succinct imagination. Right, because how small can you say something crazy? And that, a lot of times that could just be, that's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker. You know what I mean?
It does say a lot.
It says a lot, very small. So I'm not anti it, but I don't think about him in the same context.
All right, man. Now everyone's gonna want to call up 888-742-3345.